Okay, happy Friday. Good morning out there, Morena. I hope you've had a good week. I'm not going to be long this morning because we've got a terrific special guest who I'm going to introduce. The reason this strange chain of events that led this happening, believe it or not, I was out for a run last Friday and I ran past someone who I thought he had a mask on. I thought, that looks like Max Crean, but thought nothing of it because I was in the city. It wasn't on the North Shore. I carried on running. Anyway, I was about another 15 minutes into the run and I saw him again and realized that it definitely was. So I stopped and talked to him at social distance. Obviously, I was delighted to talk to him because I was exhausted. And spoke to Mr. McBride later that day and said, perfect person for next Friday. And it's testament to his brilliant attitude that when Mr. McBride asked him, he agreed straight away. He's a recent old boy, left only last year. I always remember Max very early in his Westlake career wrote me a letter, and it was complaining about the way in which I used to tease Stanley House. And he told me that it was out of order and I needed to stop doing it because it was unfair. Little would Max know that this year I've actually joined Stanley House, and Max, if we don't go back to school at all this year, Stanley House will be house champions because they're in the lead at the moment. So it's funny how things change. Max's last role that he played at Westlake was MC at our graduation dinner, and he was absolutely brilliant. Now, I'm not going to say any more about what he's done most recently since leaving school. I'll leave Mr. McBride and him to talk about that, but it gives me great pleasure to welcome this morning our special guest, Max Crean. Thank you.
All right, good morning, boys. Hopefully, there he is, the star of the show. Hopefully, Mr. Ferguson has given you a good enough intro, Max. Would you have preferred anything else to be said? Or?
It's pretty good. He did all right.
I'll take that.
He did what he could.
Yeah. And Stanley, are you happy with the Stanley House turnaround?
Oh, that's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful to hear. Maybe I was the problem. That was Stanley. Second I leave, they're ahead. But who knows? Who knows?
I didn't want to say that, but we'll leave that to the viewers. It's great to have you. I know that we put this together all last week. We've been sort of texting back and forth with questions and stuff. So we're really looking forward to this. I know it's probably nice in the pandemic to get you back in front of a camera as well. Is that something that hasn't happened for a while?
It's good getting back into it slowly.
All right, very good, very good. So we're going to have a chat about, post Westlake, how things have gone for you, what you've been up to, and also pivotal moments in your Westlake time, and then also some stuff that's pretty exciting about the future as well. So we'll take a lazy ramble around what we're going to talk about, and hopefully the boys who are listening can get a few things out of it. So I've done a bit of my research, and I'm led to believe that 2013 Campbell's Bay Primary School was you as the lead role in Beauty and the Beast. Was that your first big break?
I gotta say, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, that is a bit of a lie. I was cast as Beast in the Beauty and the Beast, but then before performance day, my parents booked a holiday when I was supposed to perform, so I had to swap out with the understudy. So I never got to perform, but that was the first initial instance of drama. Yes, drama.
Right. Okay. So that's where it started. So we'll stick with that. We'll. Where did your parents go on holiday? Was it worth it?
It's definitely worth it. It was in Croatia. It's where my stepmom's from,
right.
And it's beautiful, beautiful place.
Fair enough. All right, there we go. So, just going back to the origins of you acting, is it something you were always keen to do? Was it in your blood? Would you say? Is it a family history, or how was it there?
My mum, definitely. My mum did a lot of acting in ads. Starred in a movie, did a lot of voiceover stuff. She's quite creative, loves music, and I definitely got that from her. And she definitely inspired me and sort of brought in that idea that I could do it. When I was in primary school, I thought I was going to be a comedian, not an actor. I thought, that's the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to go on stage and I'm going to say funny jokes and people are going to like me. That obviously didn't turn out.
You've got to be funny, I think. That's the part of the gig, isn't it?
And then I'd say in intermediate school, because I did choir in primary school, and in intermediate school, that choir turned into drama club. And I did that for 2 years in intermediate. And then from start of Westlake onwards, that's when I started sort of digging my fingers into it and really giving it a go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
So would you say Westlake, it all became, drama become a more realistic thing? It was a bit, more in depth. Is there any memories that you've got of sort of really what Westlake drama gave you that you've carried on with? Anything to remember?
Yeah, definitely. It was a big sort of jump in year 9 because obviously coming from intermediate, you've only got two years that are competing. You've got year 7, year 8, and it just doesn't really matter like what year you're in. It's if you're right for the part, you get it. But in year 9, when I saw the auditions happening, it was packed. The audition room was packed because so many people love drama, and it was honestly quite intimidating. But it was a great wake up call into the sense that everyone loves it. Like, I'm not going to be the only one in school who likes drama. So many people love it, and so many people appreciate it. And definitely like just going in, I think it was A Midsummer's Night's Dream, going in to the sort of debrief of the audition, and just packed. Two full days were just packed of all it was just giving information about the show. And then from the years on in, I started doing productions, did drama in a class, and it was just amazing. The teachers there are fantastic. That it just, you can tell that it's a subject that everyone cares about, that everyone a part of it really cares about.
Yep.
And wants to give it their all. And that was an amazing jump for me to show that it wasn't just like a hobby, that it could actually be something, and I could actually try and incorporate it into my life. So I was flanneling there, but
no, that's absolutely fine. I think obviously it sounds like Westlake was the time when you realized there's a difference between just liking something and then realizing actually this is a craft, this is an art form. I've got to learn a lot. It's not all just about being on stage and putting on a performance. There's so many layers behind it. So
100%.
And that's probably a good message for the boys, that what you see on stage isn't necessarily the be all and end all. There's so many bits and moving parts and pieces that get put together, which is really good. And then obviously we know that you did really well at school. Your acting was a major feature of your co-curricular, and you played some big parts and had a lot of accolades. But at what time did you start thinking, this is me, I can make a career out of this, I want to pursue this, this is a profession I want to go into? How did all that come about?
I think it was about year 7. Oh, not year 7. No, year 11. Sorry, they rhyme. It was year 11 where I was like, okay, well, I'm really enjoying these productions. I'm really enjoying drama in class. And it was almost like an itch that I sort of, the more I did, when I'd drop it, then it just left something more to etch. So I went in year 11 and did an out of school production. It was for a company theater, wasn't paid anything. Gave up a lot of my afternoons after school and all that to play a waiter or like a servant in a show called The Importance of Being Earnest, which is is it Oscar Wilde? Oh, hopefully it's Oscar Wilde, or I'm gonna get slapped by Mr. Brown from that. But that was the first time I went out of school to start doing stuff, and it was amazing. It was because not only was I surrounded by people who love their craft, it was people in their 20s and 30s and 40s onwards who have lived already so much more than me in the craft and in acting and all that sort of stuff, and it was so inspiring. And then from that point onwards, I think in year 12, that's when I started trying to do on-screen stuff. And it just started bubble from there. I'd definitely say that the jump from not only school production, but a proper community theater, that was huge for me. And that's when I realized that's definitely something I want to do.
Yep. Yeah. And obviously, for family and parents, it's sometimes a hard thing to get the head around, that this is something that you want to go and do. A lot of people do it as a hobby, but did you have to convince mum or dad? Did they want you in something a little bit more secure and settled, or were they 100% behind you? Or?
Definitely. My mum was, because yeah, well, my mum was super supportive. Obviously, she's super creative, and my dad was supportive, but it took a little while to convince him. He was definitely every time I'd bring it up, the thought and conversation of a backup plan was always mentioned. There was no there's no escape from it really. He'd always bring up like, oh well, you can still do this and still do that. And I think he didn't realize that it was a job that I wanted to do rather than just a hobby. Because he had a mate who in his, I'd say 40s, 50s, decided that that's something that he'd love to do, and he started doing community theater, and it didn't really work out for him, sadly. And I think that he's seen that experience and then seen me going at quite a young age. That's what I want to do. I think he just wanted to save me from oh, not really save me, but he wanted to protect me in a way. But my willpower was too strong, and I kept going. And luckily, I'm here where I am now. And
Yep.
and
Awesome.
he's super supportive of it now. Yeah.
Yeah, great. And I think that's probably something a lot of the boys can relate to. You know, parents protect is a great word, I think, to use that, and it's with love and with sincerity, but obviously always thinking in the back of their minds, is he going to be able to pay the rent and do all that other stuff? So we can see that side of it. But I think the bottom line is you had a dream, you wanted to follow it, and you do it when you're young, and that's really important. So if we can move that on a little bit, can we talk about kind of like a little bit about the mechanics of, then do you have to go and get an agent? Do you have to start? How do you go about now being Max Crean actor rather than Max Crean who likes a bit of acting?
Yeah. So after the community theater little gig production, I was like, you know what, I want to start doing on-screen stuff. I want to be like Will Smith. I want to I want to go out there and do stuff. And so I reached out to an agent. This was all by myself, by the way. Like I didn't get the push from family to be like, oh, you should sign up for an agent. I straight up just searched up online agencies. And it just so happened that an agent that was on my little list, my mum happened to had done voiceover stuff with them. So I was like, perfect, it rolls in the family, boom. Yep. And I sent them an email and signed up with them. And then from there, it was just sort of like, their job as an agent is to find work and get you the audition. Yep. But from that point onwards, it's like you're sort of on your own. You have to, there's only so much they can do. Yep. But in the end, you have to win the people in the audition room over. And the agent just sort of supports you from the sideline. And so that was very interesting. But that first agency I joined, in the 8 months I was with them, they had got me one audition, right? Which it is crazy. Like in some agencies, people would be getting 2 auditions a month, that sort of thing. So me waiting 8 months, just waiting for an audition was pretty crazy. Then again, I reached out to another agency and said, hey, can I join you guys this time? They said, heck yeah. And that's who I'm with now, which is Karen K Management, and they're super sweet and super kind. And yeah, so that's basically what they do, is that I sit back, relax, sort out my in the life moments, and then every so often they'll give me an email saying, this is an audition for this is the time and place to be, this is what to prepare for. And yeah, so they're basically coaches. Not in a sense that they're teaching you acting, but they're like managing the team, and that team is you.
Can we just I'm keen to explore sort of your thoughts on auditioning a little bit more and get a few perspectives from you. From the outside looking in, I can imagine I would feel, if it was me, having never done any auditions, quite vulnerable. I would feel quite putting myself out there. It's different to a sports trial and things like that. So can you give us some of your thoughts and perspectives on, just turning up for an audition? It's a foreign concept to a lot of people. What's that like?
So it's basically going into an audition, one, even before you get into the room, you are surrounded by people who look exactly like you. Like, it's crazy. I'd go into an audition and you're surrounded basically by 5 yous, all reading the script, either with their families or their friends, all waiting. So that in itself is like, it's sort of like a grunt in the gear of like, you're not special in a way, but obviously that's not personal. It's just that they've got a specific look that they're looking for, and you happen to be the look.
Yep.
Going into the audition, it is so nerve-wracking. You do feel extremely vulnerable because you're basically trying to sell yourself. You're trying to convince them that you are the character. And obviously, sometimes your first instinct of how to read the scene isn't right. And they'll tell you straight up, let's try this again, but do this differently. And you have to remember that you shouldn't take it personally, and that in the end, what they're trying to do is find the perfect character. And I only recently I've gone to the mindset of, well, when you go into the audition, they want you to be the perfect person, right? There's no, and this is like sports trials too and whatnot, and anything that you do, you don't go into an audition or job interview or anything. No one's going to be like, I really hope this guy fails. Like, I really, like, no, this guy, they obviously want to be blown away. They want to hear you do your thing, or see you on the field and be like, that's the guy, that's the person that we want. And they want to support you through that. So it is nerve-wracking going to the audition, but in a sense, it's you shouldn't really be nervous, because they're only there to support you and give you the best audition that you can do.
Yeah, makes sense. And I suppose you could apply that, like you've said, to sport, but exams and things. Exams are coming up for the boys. Obviously, nobody in our school thinks, I hope he really stuffs that one up. It's in everyone's best interest that they do well. It's just getting to that point in the process, I suppose.
Yeah, none of the teachers are like, oh, I really hope that one fails. They're all there for you to help you with those exams, and they're all there to be like, I'm not a teacher, but I'd think that my dream is that everyone in the class gets excellence. That would be like mind-blowing. I'd love that. So they don't want you to do bad in your exams. They want you to help out, which is
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to talk to you a little bit now about success and failure, and your mindset between those two things. I was listening to a podcast the other day. A gentleman said, failure is a bruise, not a tattoo. With regard to obviously thinking it's not permanent, but how many auditions have you been to versus how many parts have you got, would you say? What's the kind of ratio for a young aspiring actor?
I'd say, I've had a lot of auditions, some of which I got callbacks for, some I didn't. And I've had, I'd say 10 times more no's than I have had yes. I think I was doing a little bit of research on it. 2% of people who do acting are able to make a living off it. 90% of actors are unemployed. Or not employed in acting and film and TV. And I find like that's pretty daunting, because it's that's like the lifestyle that you're trying to do, and obviously that's the job you want, and that's how you're going to pay for rent and food and all that sort of stuff. So I definitely, and that's a beautiful thing you said, that failure is a bruise, not a tattoo. Like in no world has someone heard more yeses in an audition than no's. Like, and that the thing that it's a pretty weird mindset, but it's when going into an audition, you do it and then you leave and you forget about it. Just forget about it, because whatever happens, it's what was supposed to happen. And if you get the part, amazing, you get an even better like celebration. And if you don't get it, it's okay. You're going to get another audition soon. You can try that one out, and then it's just sort of moving past and not letting the failure stop you from wanting more and stopping you from achieving what you can.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's definitely, I've been lucky to get even some successes. It's just, yeah, failure is so common, and it's constant, like, denial. There's a word that I'm missing. It's on the tip of my tongue. Rejection. That's the biz, is that you get rejected over and over and over again. And you just need to remember that it's not personal.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
There's some great advice there for the boys, definitely. And I think we've probably, that's the not so good stuff. Tell me now what it's like. You know, you get a role. It's something you really wanted. What happens next? How does it all come together from getting the role to lights, camera, action? What are you doing? I'm hoping there's going to be some tips in here for the boys around memory, remembering lines and all that sort of stuff. But what's kind of your format from there? Where does it go?
So it all starts with the phone call, which is just a phone call that happens any random time of the day. Could be at 7 p.m, could be 8 a.m. It's any time. You just get a phone call and it's your agent being like, hey, guess what? And they tell you get the part, celebration, ecstatic for the rest of the day. But then it's very quick fire. What happens is the production company bring you in, they debrief you on everything. They do makeup tests. So they give me a haircut, and they see what makeup works on my face and what doesn't. Costume, in a costume sort of trailer for 3 hours, trying on costumes. Does this look right? Does this fit the character? And all that sort of stuff. But what really gets down to it is there's a script read where all the cast members sit around a table and you get all your scripts for what you're filming and you just read it out. And then from when I'm given that, I'm reading it over and over. What I like to do is read the script fully twice outside of the script read, so I get an understanding of the story.
Yep.
And like a timeline of like what my character's doing. And then when it gets closer to filming, that's when I'm reminding myself the scenes. So because with filming, we don't film consecutively, we don't film in order. We film random scenes here and there, which is like, if it's a rainy day, we're filming inside. Like it's never going to go the way that you want. Yeah. So, and you only find out the night before. You only find out what scenes you're filming the next day. So it's good to have that understanding and know what's happening in the story. So when you're given that scene, it's basically like an exam. It's the way I'm saying it, it's exactly like an exam. It's You're filling your head with like the knowledge, and then the question comes up then and there, and you got to use your knowledge and that sort of little bit of research that you've done to complete the question and understand what's going on. And so I get sent the scenes what I'm going to film tomorrow, the night before. I look over the script one more time, learn the lines, and then just sort of keep that in my system for the day. Once I've finished the scene, once I've finished filming it, it's in the trash. It's out. If I'm filming a scene in the morning and then I film a scene in the afternoon, by the afternoon I've forgotten my lines in the morning. Because it's a sort of, I can only have a certain occupied space, a certain amount of knowledge at a time. But it's sort of, and like in exams, if you come across a question and you finish it, just, okay, leave it for now, finish it. And only at the end do you like re-scroll, recheck your answer, check everything's okay. Because you don't want to keep your head with the muddleness of yesterday's dinner or
There's some really stellar advice in there. I think that's probably worth a few boys just playing back and hearing again, you know, starting with the big picture and breaking it up and then having to put it back together at, you know, short notice and being adaptable and flexible. I think that's some great stuff there. Thank you, Max. Now what I do want to come on to, I suppose you've had some pretty big hits. You've done three seasons of Mystic, which was a BBC production. It was shown all over the place. We've had the Power Rangers was Nickelodeon. That was global. There's all sorts of, all sorts of millions of people potentially watching that. What's it like when you actually? I'll ask that question in a moment. What I'm going to ask now is, how do you cope with nerves and pressure?
Just in general, or
going on to set, you're the new kid on the block. There's some established people there. They're all looking at you. You've got to deliver. You get a couple of shots at it, but really you've got to nail it. How do you cope with those testing moments?
When like the first day of shooting, I was so scared. So scared. It was crazy. And it was only till I started filming, and I'd say the first probably 2 takes of my first day probably were the worst scenes in film history. They were horrible. But it was only until, you just understanding that this is the situation that you're in, like, and not stressing yourself out about everyone around you, because again, we're all trying to get the same goal. We're trying to make the best thing possible, and we're working together. So that pressure from others was turned less into pressure and more into just like relationships with like co-workers, basically, and that you can still have fun in this nervous environment, and especially now, like the first day last year compared to the last time I filmed, which was right before this lockdown, completely different. And it's definitely, when it comes to nerves, just to give yourself a little breather and to understand that everything is going to be okay. And that pressure, people, what's like that pressure turns, like pressure makes diamonds.
Pressure makes diamonds. Yep.
Pressure makes diamonds. You know what? Yeah, pressure does make diamonds, but also it hurts a lot.
It can crush you as well. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's painful. So I reckon it's just that understanding that you're not the only one that's feeling pressured and nervous in this situation, and that just to take hold of and trusting what you believe in, and trusting that there's a reason that I'm here. If you're in a spelling bee, you're not going to be like, why am I here? Well, there's a reason you're there. It's because you're good at spelling. Like you just got to understand that your mind is powerful, your mind is amazing, and that pressure is just you convincing yourself that you're not good enough, but you always are. So that's sort of the pressure that I get on scene. I just sort of flush it out of my mind and enjoy the moment. And I do, and I always enjoy the moment. It's a fun time.
Yep. That's really good. Thank you for that, Max. And do you have, obviously you weren't necessarily born with this attitude and mindset. You had to go through some experiences to get to this point. But do you have any mentors? Have you had kind of key people that you've leaned on, and what have you learned from them? Maybe people with more experience, or is there anyone you look to for advice and guidance?
I'd say definitely during school, all the teachers, Mr. Brown, Mr. Smith, they were all, they're just so supportive. Everyone's so supportive, and no one, unless you've made mortal enemies with someone, no one wants to see you fail. And obviously you just want the best for everyone. And the same way you'd treat someone else if they needed to someone to lean on. And definitely during filming, all the adults, like the adults that were filming during Mystic, had been Westside, Deadlands, so many, and international projects too.
Yep.
So, someone was on as a big character in Avatar 2, and it's just so, is like, that is nervous in itself. But what they see in you is, I was in your exact same position. I was there too. And that they're always there to give their advice, their life advice. Oh, boys, the wisdom the wisdom of people older than you is crazy. It's some of them are still children. Yeah, but they've lived an amazing life. And yeah, all the tips during scenes and the lessons and the advice that were given to me during the other actors, I wouldn't be the same person without it. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you for that. And the question I was going to ask, but I think we've got there now. What's it like? You've shot it. It's gone well. What's it like seeing yourself back on screen? What are you very self-critical? Are you just happy that you can show all your friends, look at me on TV? Is there any, how do you feel about when the job's done and then it goes live?
It's super exciting, but also I hate watching myself. It's just one of those things where a lot of students taking media studies would know if they're filming a project that they're in, is that you hate watching yourself. And so I haven't seen certain scenes in Mystic because I knew that I didn't want to see how I acted in that one. But I do like in the new Power Rangers, in for a couple of episodes, and I had to watch it to check that my accent wasn't too bad, and it's all right. So that's probably the extent in which I go to what I thought was the worst scene and watch that, and if I do an okay job, then I'm like, cool, I'm set, I've done all right. it's fine. But yeah, so I love it when my family and my friends watch it, and I love the banter that comes with it. That's always fun. Like, I'd never get tired of people making jokes about it. Yeah. So it's definitely, I'm proud of the work that I helped create. But at the same time, I don't want to see it.
Yeah. Okay. And we're drawn to a close a little bit, Max. There's just a few more things I want to ask you. Obviously, it's tough at the moment for a lot of people, and but the boys have still got lots to aim for and lots to look forward to. Do you have any messages around things that you're doing to stay motivated? I know from speaking to you, you maybe had a chance to go to Canada, it fell through. There was other international parts that have maybe not knocked your confidence, but sort of stymied you a little bit. What are you doing to stay motivated, and how are you keeping upbeat about things? Because you clearly are. What sits behind that?
It's just, I don't know. It's just the appreciation of where I am. Also, just the appreciation of being in New Zealand. Also, it's not the greatest for acting and film because a lot of international stuff is obviously filmed internationally.
Yep.
But just the appreciation of being able to be in a position where I'm able to say, yes, I would love to act as a job. And also, it does get annoying with especially lockdowns like this, that it extends the filming of one project that basically knocks the other project away. So you have to say no to that, like chances of going to Australia, and all that sort of stuff, just sort of like, sort of knocked away a little bit, but that's okay. That's just part of it. And to just know that I'm going to be okay. Like, I'm 19, I'm going to be fine. I've got so much more life to live, and it's just appreciating all the little things. I had a quote somewhere that I wrote down specifically for this, but I think I accidentally put in the bin. It was like a Māori wisdom line, which was like the little, like a little white grub can like burn through the white pine tree, which is basically trying to say that all the little things, they can be powerful if you want them to be powerful. Which is like, it might seem stupid doing your exams. Like, I don't really want to do this exam, but it's those small things, and like being friendly to others and being happy in the moment and appreciating everything. Like, that might seem small in the moment, but it's definitely gonna positively affect you further on. and just, yeah, to not underestimate the actions that you take, even if they're on a small scale or a large scale. Just like appreciating that you do things for a reason. You're going to go down this path for a reason. It's okay. You'll be fine. So that's what's keeping me afloat.
Your attitude towards that is fantastic, and a lot of the boys will take a lot from that. Just before we sort of draw things formally to a close, what's next for you, Max? Have you got anything in the pipeline? Are you off to Hollywood anytime soon?
Not
next?
Just yet. I'll let America sort their stuff out,
right?
before I give it a crack. But yeah, there's nothing too big in the pipelines yet. I do have a project that just needs funding. It's not my project, it's someone else's project that they've eyed me up for, and I helped film their pilot for it. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, other than that, I've got nothing in the works, and I'm kind of okay with it. Yeah, I just see where the river takes me.
Yeah, of course. And what's the big goal? What's the big aspiration? Where will we, when we get you back on this in 10 years time, 15 years time, if you had to tell yourself something now, what's the big goal? One of them. One of the
big goals would definitely to be in an I don't know, like a blockbuster movie. Like I don't know, it's a big ask, but I'd love to travel and film. Like all the projects that I've done so far, they've been in New Zealand, specifically North Island. I've traveled up in North Island a bit, but I'd love to film something in Australia, or film something in the UK or America, or it's just like, I can't wait to experience the cultures of different places and still be able to work and do the thing that I love. Yeah.
Awesome. I think you're saying, do the thing you love. I think that's such a powerful reference for a lot of boys. And do you have any final bits of advice to give them before we finish off? Anything you want to mention to them?
Yeah. I guess my piece of advice is, what's the risk in dreaming big? You lose nothing if you dream big. You only expand the horizon in which you can reach.
I like it. Delivered. That was delivered like a true pro, Max. Thank you so much. The boys will have certainly taken a lot from this, and in an industry that they may not know too much about, but the parallels between lots of other areas of their life are clearly apparent in preparation, in delivery, in performance, in nerves and vulnerability. It's really good to get that perspective from someone who was in their shoes very, very recently. So it's great to get that. I think you epitomize positivity and a great attitude.
Thank you.
I just wrote down there, something came into my mind. Someone always used to say to me, work made fun gets done. And I think it's clear that you you have a lot of fun with what you do. It's your passion. You enjoy it so much, and that's going to carry you through. So we know, even if you can't see it yet, we know there's big things on the horizon, and we really believe in you. We've got your back no matter what, and we will look forward to seeing you in that blockbuster movie. And we won't put a date on it, but we know it'll be there for you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
He's given up his time, Max, just to talk to you, just because he wanted to share a few things with you. So we owe you some gratitude, and you've always got a home at Westlake. So thank you so much. And you can have the last word if you want.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure.
Sorry.
I thought I left it good with the horizon thing, but okay.
I meant you could just say goodbye, but that's fine.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. All right. See you, lads.
Thank you very much. See you later.